Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The book is Lost Islamic History, Reclaiming Muslim Civilization from the Past. Firoz Al-Khatib. Lost Islamic History, Reclaiming Muslim Civilization from the Past, Hurst and Company, London. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. If anyone travels on a road in search of knowledge, Allah will cause him to travel on one of the roads of paradise. These books have 11 chapters. The first chapter is Pre-Islamic Arabia. Pre-Islamic Arabia. The dry, mountainous landscape of the Hijaz is not an environment that gives much life. Situated in the western part of the Arabia Peninsula, this land can be described with two words, dry and hot. In the summer, temperature regularly rises to well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, with little precipitation. Further east, endless sand dunes mark a landscape devoid of greenery or permanent settlements. Yet it was from this harsh landscape that, in the early 600s, a new movement emerged, one that would change the course of history in the Arabian Peninsula and beyond. Geography. The Arabian Peninsula covers an area of over 2 million square kilometers in the southwestern corner of Asia, situated between Asia, Africa, and Europe. The land is unique in its connection with all three continents of the Old World. Despite its position, it has been mostly ignored by outsiders. The ancient Egyptians chose to expand into the Fertile Crescent and Nubia rather than venture into Arabia's deserts. Alexander the Great passed by it in the 300s BCE on his way to Persia and India. The great Roman Empire attempted to invade the peninsula through Yemen in the 20s BCE, but could not adapt to the harsh landscape and thus failed to annex the region. One could hardly blame outsiders for ignoring the Arabian Peninsula. Its dry climate is barely hospitable even for the nomads who live there. Monsoon winds bring seasonal rains to the southern coast of the peninsula in the autumn, but these are stifled by the quickly rising landscape and never make it deep into Arabia's deserts. Similarly, rains from Mediterranean Sea barely touch upon the northern extremities of the Arabian desert. The result is that the vast majority of the peninsula remains dry year-round. Parched riverbeds known as wadis run throughout the land, yet they are barely recognizable as rivers. When clouds gather and rains fall, they become gushing and powerful waterways. Essential for the growth of the seasonal flora that manages to bloom in this dry land. Once the wet season is over, however, the wadis return to their usual dry state. useless as sources of water. More reliable are the oases, small fertile spots surrounded by the vast expanse of the desert. They were capable of serving host to small communities or as waypoints for travelers, but were hardly enough to sustain an advanced and large society. The Arabs' civilizations tend to be greatly shaped by the environments in which they develop, and the Arabs are no exception. Everything about the life of the Arab was based around the harsh environment in which he lived. Due to the desert's inability to support settled civilization, the Arabs were constantly on the move in search of fertile land for their flocks. One theory of the etymology of the label Arab even posits that the word itself comes from a Semitic root meaning wandering or nomadic. The Arabs would spend the summer months around whatever oases or wells they could rely on year after year, trying to make supplies and water last by living on the bare minimum. After months of enduring the summer heat, they would migrate to the south near Yemen, where rain fell in the autumn and fertile land appeared for their herds. The rain-fed pastures gave their flocks of sheep, goats, and camels enough food to live off through the winter months as they pitched their tents and temporarily settled. By the time the rain stopped and dry season began again in the spring, the Arabs returned to their oases and wells to wait out another summer. This harsh cycle had been the norm for the nomadic Arabs since time immemorial, and it remains in place for the Bedouin Arabs who still live in Arab deserts. In pre-Islamic Arabia, hospitality was of such importance that a guest